Alright, I'm Michael Gray and this is my first attempt at a video blog, and I'm going to use it to talk about the nightmare at Scottish Labour conference in Perth today with the remarks of London Mayor Sadiq Khan when he compares the independence movement and supporters of independence to racists, to bigots, within the context of Donald Trump's election and Brexit. Now, this isn't something out of the blue. If anyone out there follows Scottish political debate and the constitutional debate, you'll have known and remember some of the remarks that were made during the referendum. Alistair Darling, who led the No campaign, infamously called the SNP blood and soil nationalists. The Scotland on Sunday newspaper put a swastika on top of a saltire as part of one of its kind of Nazi book reviews about Nazism in Scotland during the debate. And more recently, you had Tory Prime Minister Theresa May referring to divisive nationalists during one of her speeches about Brexit. Just last week, you also had this bizarre caricature by The Economist of its article on independence with a typically mad-looking Braveheart-style impersonator. So independence supporters are very used to these odd extreme caricatures. Khan's comments, however, obviously inflamed a lot of anger and debate about nationalism and about identity. Here's what he told the Scottish Labour Party conference today.
We're living through extraordinary times, with the world becoming an increasingly divided place. Brexit, President Trump, and the rise of populist and narrow nationalist parties around the world. Now's not the time to fuel that division or to seek separation or isolation. Now's not the time to play on people's fears or to pit one part of our country or one section of our society against each other. In that respect, there's no difference between those who try to divide us on the basis of whether we're English or Scottish and those who try to divide us on the basis of our background, race, or religion. Now, of course, I'm not saying that nationalists are somehow racist or bigoted, but now more than ever, what we don't need is more division and separation.
And it was that specific phrase, no difference, which I think is the most problematic about Khan's comments. Let's look at the evidence. Is independence like Trump and Brexit? Well, recent panel-based polling, which came out just in the last month, suggests it's not. When they asked public voters in Scotland, both pro and anti-independence, what they thought about immigration, the result was stark. People that supported independence were a whole 37% less likely to view immigration as a problem and think there was too much immigration. In fact, most independence supporters did not see immigration as a problem, while most supporters of the UK in Scotland did see immigration as a problem, a clear constitutional divide on people's opinions of migration. Then let's look at the policies of the main parties on the pro and anti-independence sides. In favour of independence, you have the SNP, the Scottish Greens, the Scottish Socialist Party, all parties and groups which are pro-migration, pro-refugees' rights, pro-diversity and inclusion. Then look at the groups that most strongly oppose independence, generally on the far right and bigoted side of the spectrum. People like UKIP, like the British National Party, like the Orange Order. All these groups anti-immigration, anti-refugees' rights, with a history of a mixture of bigotry, racism and xenophobia. Why is that? It's because the far right in Scotland are strongly British nationalist, and they have a culture and a politics which is the complete antithesis of the independence movement. So Khan's comments today highlight the politics of hypocrisy, and it's a huge problem for Scottish Labour because during the referendum, the hate and demonisation of people on the other side of the independence question led them to lose hundreds of thousands of voters who had supported them for generations. They were nearly wiped out in the 2015 general election, with only one MP surviving that election. But the ultimate hypocrisy is for the establishment leaders in the Labour and the Tory party to accuse the independence movement of divisive nationalism when they themselves have been complicit in some of the most extreme divisive nationalist politics. It's their Westminster policies that have driven many people towards the independence movement. It's been the divisive nationalism of the detention, deportation and dawn raids targeted against the refugee and asylum community. It's been the endless wars and bombing campaigns targeted against Middle Eastern nations. It's been the most recent trend to attack the free movement of people across the European Union and the abandonment of any idea of solidarity with those countries. So Sadiq Khan's comments, whether due to ignorance or political miscalculation, are wrong. It's been Westminster politicians that have exhibited the most extreme forms of divisive nationalist politics. That's divisive British nationalism.